Hi, Amy.
Hello, it's time for another Fireside Chat. And this week I'm welcoming our president, Terry Mark, to talk to us. And we're going to have a conversation that you all get to watch. And let's start by welcoming Terry. Hi, Terry.
Hi,
And I
Amy. Glad to be here.
thank you. I heard you have a chalice to light.
I do. This is a turtle chalice. Turtle is very special to me because it symbolized, and for many of us at UUFE who attended Midwest Leadership School, the turtle is a very symbolic of our time there. So,
Cool.
our chalice is lit.
So Terry, I've asked you to join in this week's Fireside Chat because maybe some people are hearing or reading that Governor Holcomb has said that churches can open legally by May 8th. But at UUFE, we're priding ourselves on um, on having that glorious day when we are all able to safely get together, having us all be there because we followed CDC rules. So I
Yeah.
thought maybe you might like to say something about that.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm glad we're doing this. I'm glad we have a chance to talk through some of these really tough issues that our church and a number of everyone all over the country is wrestling with. And, ever since Governor Holcomb issued his Back on Track Indiana plan, we've looked at the specific guidance on places of worship very carefully. And even though it says that on May 8th, that places of worship may resume activities, if you dig a little deeper into the document that the state issued, there's a lot of nuance to it that I think has gotten lost. And among the main takeaways I have is that it continues to encourage churches and religious organizations to continue doing alternative methods that don't bring people together as much as possible, whether that's live streaming or recorded services or video conference meetings. And there are also a number of guidelines on sanitation and health and safety and social distancing within those orders. And I think all along the board has really taken to heart our responsibility to ensure the safety not only of our members but also of visitors and staff members and our neighbors, our neighborhood, in deciding to not have in-person activities on our campus.
I have really appreciated, I'm not brown nosing. For real, I was so nervous at that March board meeting. I knew that I was going to be walking in and saying, I think we have to close. And I was really nervous about saying that. And the board was like, absolutely. We've been reading too, and we need to be safe. And uh, and I think that I have the pleasure of serving a board that is well read and sometimes I feel a little frustrated that we have to just go a month at a time because I don't see things getting better very quickly. But whenever I start to have that feeling, I go, now wait a minute. They're the governing board. They have to think about the legalities of what happens if we have a meeting and somebody gets sick. They have to think about, oh, well, how often is Claudia coming in and cleaning? Can we ensure safety? I just think that y'all are doing a great job.
Last few things that you said were lost because you were frozen.
Oh, well, I
What
think
did
that
you
y'all are
say?
doing it. The board has a lot of legal and financial fiduciary things to consider. And I don't know if everyone realizes this, but, you know, I have felt frustrated sometimes because I see around me when when we're driving back and forth from the church and we go on up Cassopolis just for the heck of it to turn around and come back. Before today, when things were deemed uh, open again, I don't think Elkhart ever, as a city, it didn't really slow down. I mean, you go to Walmart, nobody's got masks. You go to Menards, nobody's got masks. And it has made me feel really frustrated sometimes. And so then when I get on a phone call or a Zoom call with the board, and you all are taking things so very carefully considering whether to close just till the end of the month, carefully considering, sometimes that has felt frustrating to me because I see how the wider community is not helping to flatten any curves. But I think it's the right job for the board to be doing. And so I take a breath, I sit back, I listen, and I go, yeah, the board's doing this right.
One of the things I've taken comfort in and through this is those organizations, whether it be a government entity or a business, who really relies on science and facts to guide their decisions, as well as responsibility to their audience, whether it's customers or employees or neighborhood. I mean, that there isn't any greater responsibility to us. Not that it is the main reason, in my mind, for making these decisions, but you can't you can't ignore the fact that there's a there's a responsibility and a liability for any organization that has an event, opens its doors, and then a visitor, a member, someone gets sick or arrives infected and passes on that infection. That's a very heavy responsibility, and I really cringe at the thought of businesses that are choosing to open and not with very little, if any, precautions. That really makes me think twice about visiting that business, about how much they care about, or they care at all about their customers or their employees.
Well, I haven't solved the earlier question. Terry and I had a conversation earlier, and so restaurants are open to go in and eat, but we're also supposed to be wearing masks. Like, how does that work?
That's a good one too, and I think unfortunately, what's been lost in a lot of this is that I feel as though people have heard people through the grapevine or in media reports that Indiana is reopening, and a lot of the nuance about the incremental nature of that has gotten lost. I mean, just to take your example, restaurants are allowed to reopen on May 11th at 50% capacity, and with very little guidance on what that actually means. What is 50% capacity, and whose responsibility is it to police whether customers are wearing or not wearing masks? I think that's a disservice to our residents and to businesses. They should not be the ones that have to police behavior in a public health emergency.
I agree. When I heard that, okay, they're going to allow 50%. So if a restaurant's allowed 200 people, usually they're going to be allowed 100 people. Do I want to walk through somewhere where 100 people aren't wearing masks and they're eating and possibly expelling, particles? Or I don't want to be there. And then I started thinking about church potlucks. And I'm like, I love potlucks, but I don't want to walk through a church potluck where we are endangering each other. I think I'm to the point where I just want to think about, like, what are the good things we can do? Let's agree what the rules are and what they aren't, and then go on with good stuff.
Right. I think some of the conversation I've had in my in my job, my professional life, is that in many ways life will be very different. What those things are, I think, still is a bit of subject of some negotiation and some dust settling. I don't think we've worked out or arrived at what our new normal looks like, but it is definitely not going to look like what it was like in February or early March.
No. I have had my ups and downs. How about you?
Likewise.
I'm currently at a point where I look around and see, I don't see this going well. So I'm feeling more like I want to make sure I stay home. I want to make sure my family stays home. I really want UUFE people, as much as they can, to please stay home, please isolate, please practice all of the stuff. My hands are itchy all the time. Are yours?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's this has been tough. This has not been easy for any of us, and I think we're all adapting or attempting to adapt to these circumstances at our own pace, in our own way. I've been working from home for 7 weeks. This is the 7th week of working from home. It has its own rhythms. It has its own pros and cons. And, I think even with coworkers, we're not, I don't think there's anyone who's eager to go back to the office, even though technically you could. Again, that's the tough thing about the guidelines that the state has issued. It uses language that suggests that there's a choice. Things are recommended or optional, or and that language just leads to a lot of suggests that there's wiggle room, when I think the public health experts believe that there is no wiggle room.
I don't mean to laugh, but you have teenagers at your house?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got a 16 and 20-year-old at mine. When you tell them what the rules are, do they always understand exactly what you're talking about, or do they look for loopholes? Because mine look for loopholes.
Yeah, I agree. In talking with teenagers, you have to use very direct, very specific language, and leave no gray areas, because any gray area you leave can be exploited.
And it's not because they aren't smart. It's because they're so smart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna get dark, but I'm sad that there has not been a national leader, or even a state leader, really, who says, look, we don't have the hospital beds, we don't have a vaccine, stay home and be consistent. I'm sad about that. I'm glad that UUFE has you and me and the board, But I'm just really sad about that, because when my kids are given rules to follow and they don't follow them, we all know it. And we've been given these weird, obscure rules by our national leader that sometimes fly in the face of the CDC rules. And so what are we supposed to, I mean, we in terms of like the whole citizenry, what are we supposed to think? What are we supposed to do? As you keep saying, they're vague. They're not clear. They're not concise. I just think that it's disrespectful.
Yeah, I don't want to get dark as well, but the things that go through my mind is that a lot of the state's guidelines rely on the responsible behavior of every Indiana resident. And while I believe there are many responsible Indiana residents,
Yep.
it doesn't take very many irresponsible ones to really ruin it for all of us. And that's what I really worry about.
I have been asked by your daughter, actually, one of them, who was writing a paper, when I'm doing a sermon, do I have somebody in mind? And I said, yeah, I usually have one person in mind, and I write it like a conversation. It might be someone I never met or someone from history, but I have somebody in mind I'm talking to so that it becomes conversational. And I didn't realize it until we were having this conversation. I know who I'm thinking of when I think about what is the safe thing to do in this situation. And it is a gentleman whose name I don't know. Years ago, I was asked to do a funeral at a funeral home for someone who didn't have a church. And this young man had lost his uncle. And he got up and he pulled up his shirt, and there was a scar on his side. And he said, I love this scar and I'll never forget my uncle because we used to play bottle rocket tag. And I'm like, oh, that's who
Okay.
that's who lives around me. And and it was an adult person talking about this fabulous memory of when he was a child and his uncle was an adult. And I'm like, okay. I'm thinking safety doesn't mean the same thing to everybody.
Yeah, that's true. And read an interesting comment the other day about how freedom seems to mean something different to our current society right now. Freedom seems to mean that no one can tell me what to do. I will do whatever I want to, and the consequences of that behavior does not matter. And that's, to me, is not freedom. That's I don't know what the right word for that is, but it's not. That is not freedom.
Arrogance and selfishness.
Being self-absorbed.
Hey, let's turn this around and be positive.
Sure.
I want to tell you something great I did today, and you can be thinking about something great you've done recently. I thought I really miss seeing people's faces not on Zoom, and I want to be really safe. So I called somebody and I said, I'm going to bring my folding chair in my trunk, and I'm going to get out in your driveway and set it on one side. And if you'll come out of the house and set yours on the other side, we could have a conversation. And I had my mask around my neck. I took it off for this, but I usually have it on around my neck all the time. And the minute I walk out, before I walk out the door, I pull it up. And I just have it on the whole time I'm out. And it was great. It was great to sit and safely talk with somebody and just hang out. And it was a wonderful thing. And I followed all the rules.
That's
I feel
great.
great about this. Do
That's
you have
great.
anything like that?
Well, none come immediately to mind. I feel like some days I live my life on Zoom between
I
meetings,
bet.
but I've seen some jokes and about a thing called Zoom fatigue, and
Oh, yeah.
I can't say that I haven't felt that, but I also feel like if we want to turn this into a positive, um, I feel like there's an opportunity that I have not seized, and many people have not seized on uh, taking this situation and finding new ways to be in community,
Mhm.
to uh, be with friends. Doesn't have to be this way. I'm not I'm not advocating for that necessarily, but I think there is a chance for us to be creative and to think about um, how we do friendships, how we do
Yeah.
family, how we do being a neighbor differently in a time when being um, physically close to anyone who not within your household is dangerous.
Yeah. Are you
So
hearing a dog bark?
I am. Is that I'm not. I don't think it's from my side of the Zoom conversation.
You're talking about new relationships and a new way of looking at friendship and community. I'm sitting next to a door that I have, the sliding glass door is closed and just the screen is, or I'm sorry, the sliding glass door is open and the screen is shut. And across the street, they have 3 dogs. So there, our conversation just got bigger. Um, you're hearing that I have dogs in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Boy, people are our pets are loving that we're home, right?
Well, the dogs at least. I don't know about the cats.
Pearl Pearl is okay as long as Henry's around.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
here's another positive. It's a sneak peek.
Okay.
We are going to have the best blessing of the animals ever because everyone will be at home with their animal.
Oh, right. Yeah. That is good. Yeah. See
I don't know
that.
when yet. It's gonna be
That's
fun.
right. That's right. Before it was not necessarily possible for everyone to bring their animal.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, I wish I could say I've discovered those new ways of being in community, but I feel like the chance is there. If I, uh, we just need to put our minds to it and try things out. I mean, it may take a time or two, a little bit of experimentation for us to hit on uh, what exactly that is.
Yep. Well, I'll, can you hear me okay? Because you look frozen.
Yeah,
Now
you
we
were
both
frozen
are.
too, so
Okay.
I can hear
Um,
you now.
but let's not sing the soundtrack. Um, I am working on a bridging ceremony for our bridgers that is online. And my friend and colleague, Elizabeth Mount, who is serving the UU congregation in Indiana, Pennsylvania, she had an online ordination on Saturday.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we can do this.
I did have just now thought of an example of a positive outcome from this COVID pandemic,
Good.
and I mean, so one of the few ways that we've all been able to get out is to go for a walk or a bike ride in our neighborhoods, and uh, parks have remained open. That's one of the few places that have been consistently okay for people to be at. as long as we maintain social distance. And our family has discovered that we enjoy going on hikes together. Now, some of that is, a necessity because there's very few other things that we could go do together. But we had a nice time this weekend discovering a park that I'd never been to up in Cass County. It was a nice day, nice time to get in a couple of miles and see some beautiful scenery and enjoy time with our family. I think before this pandemic, I don't think we might have spent time together, but I don't think we would have chosen that.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Have we solved all the world's problems for the day?
Well, we're one step closer, maybe.
One step closer. So here's what I do when I'm doing these fireside chats. I look right at the screen and I think, I hope everybody is watching. I hope everybody is listening. I hope I've said something useful. I know I have tonight because I've had special guest, Terry Mark. But fireside chats, that the reason we call it that is Roosevelt gave these little pep talks in between some pretty awful announcements, just so that everybody felt connected. And I think it's a good thing to be doing, to have fireside chats. But I do think that if the sound allows, it might morph into a fire pit chat as the weather gets nicer. Might be outside, out back. I don't know. But I really appreciate UUFE wanting to be together, online, in person, however. I appreciate the want for community. I appreciate the feeling of common purpose, which is to be a beacon of light in what can be a dark place. I mean the world, not Elkhart. And as the minister, I just really appreciate all of the positive feedback and and I appreciate the honesty. I was at a Zoom meeting and someone said, "You have spinach in your teeth." I just really appreciate the humanity that runs through all of these Zoom meetings, all of these fireside chats, the Sunday morning service. I'm in a place of deep appreciation. And that's what I'm going to close with, and a thank you. Terry, why don't you give us your thoughts and close us out?
Well, thank you, Amy. I'm in the same place as you. I think, it's easy to become numb to the madness coming from our nation's capital. But I've been really touched, and I've had the privilege of knowing about and helping pass along the creativity and the goodness and the grace that people are extending to each other within Elkhart County to help those who are in need through by feeding them or making and sewing masks, by just the trying to keep everyone's spirits up, and just trying to let people know that this too shall pass. We'll get through this, and there are brighter days ahead.
Hey, you know what I have? I know I just told you got to close us out, but then I remembered. I think that I have the printed words of our covenant. Maybe we could say them together while I know them, I don't need them. But I was thinking maybe I could hold them up.
Sure.
For people watching, but maybe I don't have them. Anyway, I'm sorry I don't have it handy, and we didn't rehearse this, but you want to say it with me?
Sure.
All right.
All right.
Love is
the spirit of this church.
and
and
service
service is its
is
law.
its law. To dwell
Dwell
together,
together in peace, to seek the
to
truth
seek the
in
truth
love,
in love, and
to
to help one
one
another.
another. This is our
This is
covenant.
our covenant. Good night until the next Fireside Chat.
Good night.